to a really big shoe.
You're now watching two old farts making noises. Welcome to Canadian Art Today with your host, Paul Constable.
And there's Paul, everybody. We were just talking about the Ed Sullivan show, so that's why I said really big shoe.
Really big
So
shoe.
half the people don't even know who that is anymore, so it doesn't matter.
Well, they should. I think it's probably on the tube somewhere.
Probably, yeah, I would think so.
Everything is there, even our show.
Everything's on YouTube. I mean, if we're there, everybody's there. So, and here this is the last show of 2023. Dun, 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 dun.
It will be. I'm gonna take a bit of a break, and we'll see everybody in January. But
really, he's taking a break from David. He just didn't want to say that, and that's why David's not here today.
Well, he can watch later. But no, I just thought it would be a nice way to end our year. I hate to say it, 30 years ago, I created an actual exhibition and a show.
Right.
And it was in a celebration of, I guess we'll call it a Canadian experience of a winter solstice.
Very
so
nice.
It was about a community coming together, which is the community I live in the prairies. And I got caught up in this. I did drawings and paintings for 3 years on this project from 94 to about 96 with an exhibition in 96. And it is shown a number of times over the years in its entirety, 22 pieces of work. And no sculptures in this one, but it was mostly, everything would have been snow and it would have melted.
Right.
But anyway, it was this kind of a thing that I had to do. I felt compelled to it. It was minus 24 out, post Christmas, it's in the New Year, so it was done in like January, and it was like, how am I gonna produce this show? Let's start with a visual here, Stephen, and we'll.
Let's do this.
We can.
Yeah, and I will apologize. I think you're on the stage here. Here we go. And I will apologize to everybody who's a fan of Paul's. Unfortunately, I'm the guy that's actually going to be interviewed, but Paul knows what he's talking about, so he's actually going to interview himself. I'm just sitting here looking pretty for the show.
I'm the host. The host that'll introduce
He's the host. He's going to interview himself and talk about the color. I'm just going to go, "Ooh, that's really pretty." So it'll be a good show.
Well, I'm sure it's. I think generally, this is not a religious holiday in a sense. This
Right.
was more about a community coming together for an experience, and I think most communities have winter festivals. They have summer festivals. They have things
even in Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach. When I lived down there, we had the winter boat parade. It's 80. Well, it'll be for the people that 25 Celsius, which is about 80 degrees Fahrenheit. The boats go down the intercoastal. You sit at a restaurant and whatever, and you're enjoying like the boats going down, and you're like, I'm a little sweaty here, and so yes. So I think everybody has a winter solstice, no matter where you are.
Yeah, and I think we've seen that on different shows, with Stonehenge and things from England, right? And they're talking about summer solstices where people get up at crazy early hours to wait to watch that sun hit it at just the right angle, and is supposed to do magic things. And I mean, it becomes this huge party basically out in spewing garbage everywhere, and tons of people. Not quite as many, but there was in our experience in the I'll call it the early years, but you had volunteers. You used to have people that participated. No cell phones in those days. There was communication was more analog, right? We were actually talking to people, bumping into people, and this became like this huge installation. If you think about an installation as something that you walk into and you experience, you experience an event. Well, this is like a reality show experience. So this only happens a certain time of year, a couple of times. This was like a Saturday night, so it was the big event.
Right.
And there was no big, everybody come out here and big ads and think. People just kind of arrived.
Oh, wow.
Everybody, it was just weird. It was like there was this magic calling where everybody just arrived at the same time. And in those days, we had where our exhibition grounds are. It was just a large field. You'd walk across, and they didn't have a lot of asphalt, except on the main concourse area, there's asphalt.
Right.
So you had to walk across from the main gates across this field, and hundreds of people all at one time arriving at the same time. It was just bizarre, right? You
Right.
park the car, and it's cold out, and you can see everybody's kind of bundled up. They dragged a sleigh and their kids, and it's a family kind of event. This doesn't happen anymore. Nobody does. I can't park in front of the door. I'm not going, right? It's kind of that, dude. So I felt very primal. I don't know what it was. There was just it was this gathering of people, and and communicating grunts and groans, and I'm cold, and if they go along, they're just walking and trudging, and you're hearing that crunch of snow while you're walking. It was just kind of that was the ambiance, and there was no big, like in the background in this shot, there eventually was a huge fire that was made from burning of the old Christmas trees. That's where the fire came from. But while you're walking across this field, and this was kind of the feeling that this is a mono print. There are 4 of these in this series, and it's a full sheet of paper. So it's what is it, 20, 22 to 30, 22, 28. Like, there's quite a large sheet of paper, and I'll explain in a minute about the process.
Sure.
There's this, people carried candles, so you'd stop at a candle stand, and they would sell you a candle for $1. But what you did is they put it inside a white paper cup. They punch a hole in the bottom.
I remember that.
And you put the candle up, and then you light it so it doesn't blow out. And then
the cup would keep the wax from falling on you and everything else.
Yeah, and it glows, and it also glows, and the wind wouldn't blow it out. So, a whole bunch of people would have these candles, and they're trudging across this field together. And certain people had candles, usually the parents. You don't let kids have the candle. But it was just like people carrying things and bulky coats. And so there was not a lot of, you couldn't see a lot of people's faces because they were covered up with scarves and different things getting across, and they're making their way across this venue. This actually was what they call a monoprint or a monotype. And what you normally, on this one, you kind of do a painting on plastic or Lexan, and then you put your paper down and you rub it, and then you lift it up, and it transfers the pigment onto the paper. This one I did 4 at the same time. I hinged them top and bottom, left and right, so you could draw a key line drawing of what you want and see through the plastic, right? You paint in the areas. You put the paper down, you rub it, and you lift the paper back, and you do another one. You pull the other paper down, so they hinge back and forth until you have basically 4 monoprints. They are somewhat different a little because you kind of hand colored them, but they are of the same scene. And it was just a way of producing something that I had an idea about, this feeling of bulky coats and boots and kids and dogs and family, whatever went along with this. People normally didn't take their dog because they'd freeze to death, but they'd have to carry them and huddle them up, unless you get a little tiny little thing. You have that for lunch over one of the other fires. But it felt very primal. So here, so here's some of the things we're going through. So this is very typical of what that candle stand would be like, and there'd be 1 or 2 of these across that field, and usually some kid was part of that festival and was selling these candles, and they were stuck. That one had a carnation box upside down with holes in it, and you put it was just a quick makeshift thing. But so initially I'd do drawings, and there's the ink drawing is on the right. It's in my sketchbook, but I'll show some later on. But the ink ones were actually done in the studio from the pencil drawings. You just can't draw with ink. It'll freeze up. Your camera would freeze up. So there's no cameras All the
Okay.
paintings are done from the drawings that I produced. And like this is a large painting. There's probably this one's 40 by 40 inches.
Wow.
A lot of the other
It's,
ones are.
I mean, this is a compliment. This is very Norman Rockwellish.
I'll take that as a compliment.
I'm just
Very
saying though, but I mean, I look at it as very, and I mean that in the nicest sense. It's very, not so much, we'll say North Americana, but very Americana, very, family, and I know Norman wasn't the greatest guy painter in the world, but it's just, that's what I look at that. I'm like, this is like Norman, this could be on the cover of the New Yorker, like
Saturday
the
Saturday
Saturday
evening.
Evening Post, right? And I'm like, that's what this reminds me of, which is nice, is it brings a smile to your face.
Yeah. Well, Norman was a very accomplished painter, like amazing and fast. He could illustrate because he had to do what were they every second week? Was there
It was every other week,
I
actually.
think there was
Yeah.
and they had to have a new one every
Yep.
on cue. And he did depict America of the times. He was an amazing. He didn't get the credit he should have got for what he had accomplished of an era in a time. And Saturday Evening Post depended on him. People
Yes.
just couldn't wait for the next issue of how Norman saw the world, right? And anyway, that's how Paul sees the world.
There you go. But it's beautiful. I mean, people see this and they should smile because it should bring them back, depending on where you live and how old you are, your childhood, which it does for me because this was an up north thing.
Yeah. Well, this could be in Norway. This could be anywhere in Europe and Germany or whatever. Like
Right.
this type of imagery. I remember living in Germany quite a number of years ago as a child, and it was going to festivals, the smell of a cigar outside.
Yep.
It had a feeling and a time, and they really knew how to romanticize things around some of the folklore that they had in the day. But this one is really trying to depict what it was like at night and the fires and the warmth. And this
Very
was
pretty.
somewhat typical of that warming barrel. And I ended up doing 2 of these paintings, and you can see the pencil sketch from above. That was done on location in just pencil, and then an ink one would be done in my studio later, and then it basically moved over into a larger painting as well.
Gotcha.
And it was, it was a feeling, and a little bit of the muse and the sparks and the fire coming out of the fire. Kind of a fun thing to. It's I guess it's kind of a lyrical show, right? There's a story in here somewhere, and I'm hoping maybe there'll be a book. Maybe I gotta get my buns in gear to get the right kind of writing.
Don't make me push you like I did Brown Car Guy. Brown Car Guy told us back in September he was going to write a book, and yesterday, which his show will air tomorrow, and by the time people see this, it's already aired, on Sermon from the German, his new book just came out.
Wow.
And we actually did a short of him, and we put it out that said, he said, "Don't tell anybody," but I was like, "Yeah, don't tell anybody my ass." I actually put it out there, and he's like, "Great, now I have to actually write it." I'm like, yes, you do. So his book just came out, and the big joke was that we pressured him into getting a book out. So if you're going to tell us you're going to write a book, 2024 going to be, where's your book? So just to let you know.
Yeah, I need probably that push. Like I'm not getting pushed from everybody for other things, but
no worries.
It's only been 30 years, Stephen.
Well, you don't want to wait till the last minute.
No, what is the last minute?
I know, right?
I don't want to be there.
But see, this would be a gorgeous for next holiday. This should be a gorgeous holiday book.
There you go. Okay,
Yeah.
There's my goal. My goal is
All
to get this stuff into a printable
holiday
form
book.
and
There you go.
you can we'll push it on here.
There you go.
And get some sales. You got to sell to pay for the publication. I was trying to do the math on it, and it's there's not a lot of money in a book by the time you pay the publisher and the bookseller. So if you don't go through Amazon, if you go through an actual bookstore, they take 30-40%. And
why don't you do Amazon self-publishing? That would be, I think, I mean, this way it's like, that's, I think, what I'm not sure if that's what he did, but he also had some printed so he can autograph and send out. But you could use the Amazon self-publishing, and that would be beautiful. It's just
Yeah.
publishing on demand.
Yeah, there is part of it is it's like they really are quick with just typography only, like type.
Right.
But when you start to have a full page imagery of
Gotcha.
printed imagery, it does. I mean, you're back into you might as well just pay to get a production done properly.
All right. Well, we're going to push you next year for the book for the holiday.
Okay, well here we go. So
All right.
all these images that I'm going through are personal experiences. It's not a thing that they're all like this. Like
Right.
every festival is like this. That's not the way it is. This is how I perceived things. I don't know if you've ever skated.
Sure. I used to live up north, and I didn't skate
go.
well.
Well,
So,
skating on natural ice is really different than skating on an arena.
oh no, we used to skate on the frozen lake
There you go.
in the
Perfect.
community. We used to go, and you had to buy a little badge that had a number on it, and that was your for the winter for that season. That was your pass to get on the frozen lake and go and skate. And that was
Well, skating on they'd have venues at night. So there was a daytime and a nighttime version of this because it was on over a week, this event. And, skating it during the day is one thing, but skating at night is just magic. Like there's a little bit of spotlights, and I try to get that feeling of people fading in and out of the darkness. And it's sort of like if you're with your sweetheart and you're skating, or if it's different. There's hiding spots on the ice, right? There's and there's just that's what that's the kind of feeling where people come in and out of the plane, the bottom of the canvas, and back into the back, and you can sort of see bit of a northern light thing happening, just more for directional things that you're skating somewhat in a circle like they normally do. They come back to where you started. So it was more about a feeling, and there's warmth, but it's still kind of cold out, and
very cool.
Go through. Now, this one is this one blew me away when I come across the field, and these people kind of disperse once they get to the venue. Some go to get hot chocolate, some went to get other different things, right? They go to skating and they go to see the ice sculpture and the different things. But what our prairie area is pretty flat where we are, because it's just an exhibition grounds. So what they did is they had a lot of snow that year, so they would push the snow up into two different size hills, a small one and a big one. Like these are big hills. Couldn't believe how much snow they pushed up. But then they pushed these big poles in the top, and they hung big sheets and things from them, and they look very Les Miserables. Like, oh my goodness, I was just like gobsmacked when I looked at this thing. It felt like I was in 1780 or something. It was just like, oh my goodness, it looked very I don't know what it was. It was romantic in a way, but it was I don't know. It just felt these flags flying at night in the night sky, and the lights from the area catching on that white sheet. I think part of it is it's kind of a big flag. Notice me, right? It made the venue look bigger than it was. So the kids would all come there and slide. The little ones could go down the little hill, and the bigger kids could go down the bigger hill, adults and that. So, but it felt very cool. There was a lot of activity, lots of noise, and just that sound of kids outside and the action. They're being able to slide at night, and night being here, like at that time, it's 6 o'clock at night. It's black. It's dark.
I was just going to say, up north.
So it's not midnight, but so these are still. The kids just had a riot. You could just hear this going on. Anyway, the sketches on the right that inspired the actual painting. This painting's not huge, but it's probably 36 inches.
That's still a big painting.
It's
a meter by a meter.
Yeah, something like that. And it's they're all acrylic paintings.
Okay.
And
but you're not selling any of them. This is just for the winter solstice, if you will, showcase.
I have one we'll come to one image that's available for sale, but it's a print, woodcut print that I have a number of, and I can actually, I think I've got some here. I could actually show it on without my background messing it up. But it's this show is kept somewhat in its entirety. It's for exhibition. I do have photos of everything for publication, so a book.
A book would be nice. I'm just saying.
A book
So,
will be nice, and I hate it. It's half written. It's just not. I need an editor, and I need to.
gotcha. As Rodney Dangerfield would say, which half? So, this is beautiful. This is gorgeous stuff. But yeah, now, so we didn't have this up in New York and like that Northeast. We didn't have this part of it. I mean, they did maybe with people that not where I live, but this is beautiful. This I would like to go see.
And I had this show, and it was in our main library exhibition gallery, and people came to it and they liked the show. He said, "Well, where is this event? Where is this event?" And it's like, you people, it's written in the newspapers. It was promoted by the city. It was, and where were you? Anyway, and,
people to read.
Yeah, too bad, too late. Yeah. And now to have a show like this is just like fantasy, because this doesn't happen. There's the energy isn't there, the interest isn't there, or something. I don't know. Like I said, there was a magical 3 years when this event happened, and I was just very, very fortunate to be a part of that time frame. And I had the energy or something, I was, to want to do that, which you have to have a motivation. And it wasn't about selling anything. So it was depicting something.
But people don't have, it's not like a wonderful life, if you will. It's not that, or our town. We don't live in that society, unfortunately, anymore. Now the society is give me, get me, get me, go, go, go. This was, even though it was 20 or 30 years ago, it was more of a, for lack of a better term, more of a peaceful time. It's sort of like, I'm going to go enjoy toboggan, sledding, or the circular, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't think kids really do that. Like, I don't see kids playing anymore. So for kids or adults to go outside now, oh my God, I can't take my phone. They don't know how to disconnect and enjoy. Like, if someone said to me, we can go to this right now, I'm on a plane. Like, I don't need my phone, leave it at the hotel. I've got the clothes, let's go. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm sure they do it probably in Colorado and Wyoming still, maybe Montana. But you would think, but people don't want to disconnect. They want their phone. Even when people ski, I notice they have their phone. It's like, enough. Go enjoy life and live in the present. They live in the moment that you're enjoying.
Yeah. When people they fall down the hill, they can dial 911.
Well, that's what the dogs are for. So.
No, it was, I guess I'll call it a simpler time, even though in the time you don't realize you were living in a simpler time.
Simpler time, yeah.
But this is a free venue. It didn't cost anything to go. You just had to have the energy to get your butt up and get your kids and go and do something with your kids, your family, right? And I guess that's what got me into this. It became an event everybody could be a part of, right? And it didn't cost any money unless you went and got a hot chocolate or something like that.
Okay. Or bought the candle.
Or you bought $1 candle. Oh, my God.
Yeah. I know. There you go. There we go. Sledding, tobogganing. There it all is.
Actually, this is one of the paintings that did sell. I had a show in Calgary in 2003.
Right.
And a guy from Ireland bought this and had it shipped home. Yeah, he had it shipped home. So these are, and my wife is really upset because 2 of those kids are mine.
Very nice.
You have to paint another one. So it was a big painting, and but it's nice that it is someplace somebody really wanted that Canadian feeling, and they take it home to Ireland, to enjoy on their wall. And very, very fortunate that somebody liked that. At least I have an image of it. Right. And so eventually at some point I may repaint it, but it's always different when you repaint, because this is when your kids were quite young. It's my one daughter on the sleigh and the other one holding the sleigh and behind the background, and with one of their friends in the middle.
Very nice.
But even so, anyway, it was a piece of the time, and they're nice when you paint these things. You kind of relive the moment a little bit. So it's sort of like rereading a book. I kind of enjoy talking about them. Actually, they're kind of I don't know. They bring back good memories and young family.
There you go. More toboggans and more sleds.
Actually, this one is another one that did sell as well. This is in a hotel in Canmore in the mountains there, in the Rocky Mountains.
Wow, very nice.
In a hotel. But it's really the mystery of if you've ever had to climb up a darn hill.
Yep.
It goes down so quick and then you have to climb back up.
Yep. You do that and as kids, we would do that for hours.
Yeah, we did. And those hills were so big when we were kids. I don't know what it somehow that hill shrinks a little bit as you get older. You think, gosh, that was a big hill when I was a kid. Must have wore it out. It was like, but it's kind of this mystery of this one really was about this kid in the foreground and what is he really looking at? There's something behind him. There's where he's been, like slid down the hill, and he's
right.
And I don't know what it is, but there was just some kind of, I guess you try to find that connection somewhere between the audience that's looking at this. So he's actually somewhat looking at the audience, but off stage a little bit. And it was a feeling I wanted, a daytime one, and I kind of worked on one.
I like it. It's very nice. Oh, and there's the hill, the real picture of the hill.
Yeah, or the hill, daytime,
right.
before the sun goes down completely. But we get really bright skies in the wintertime. Sunsets be quite dramatic, actually. Well, New York did the same. They got beautiful sunsets, and
I call them northern clouds. Where even in Florida, even here in Texas, every now and then you get to be a cold morning or a stormy day. Yeah. And I look up and I go, those are northern clouds. They just have a feel to them.
Yeah. Well, it's you can see they don't have quite the same dramatic look as a night scene. They're more the contrasty, but you still get a feeling that it was cold out. But there's even when the sun is out, it's still cold, and everybody's bundled up. But it seems like everybody's back is facing you as the audience. So there's not a lot of faces because you can't see much anyway by the time they're all kind of bundled up. All you can see is eyeballs and scarves and things. But there was I put some more stuff in here. Now this is
really cool.
This is the one here. I'll show you. Oh, wait. Okay. What did I do?
And for those people that are watching, Paul's about to get his putter, and he's going to try to putt a 10-footer.
There we go. Yeah, so this is that.
Oh, here, let's do a close-up. Hold on 1 second.
There you go.
There you go. Nice. Very pretty.
Yeah, so they're matted and framed and ready to go. So I've got a few of those left.
There you go. And if anybody wants one, let us know, and we'll put you in touch with Paul.
Yeah, they're $195. There you
Canadian.
Go. Canadian. That's cheap, like Steven says.
That's like $4.50 US. I know that because we just did the moose painting, the moose picture from John. So that's going to be here, I guess, in the next couple of weeks, and that'll be somewhere on the wall in the studio. So.
You'll probably get that in less than a week. I think it'll be.
I'm excited about that. I like that moose. I looked at that picture, I must tell you, and we talked about this on and off the air, but that moose has a smirk on his face that's saying F you, and I'm like, I have to have that moose. And that was it. The moose is coming. I'm very excited about it. So we'll see. But this is gorgeous as well, everybody. So you can't have the moose because I have it. But you can have this.
Well, that's the thing. You can have one of them. Yeah, no, these. So this became a real. I really like the hills, the way they were working, the way people went in, up and down in them, and sliding. So you can see in the top right, there's the pencil sketch that I did of it with a carpenter pencil,
right,
with moose mitts on, and so you can't get a lot of detail, but the carpenter pencil is nice because it's got a wide chiseled end on it.
Okay.
And you can get larger dark space when you use it, and you can turn it sideways and get little finer lines if you want. So a little bit easier to work with to fill in larger areas on location when you're working with it, but you're not going to get a lot of detail.
Gotcha.
Then later on, I did the black and white sketch below from that as reference. And then from there, you actually do a drawing and transfer it onto wood. Then you cut it, and these are two colors in this one. It's a diminishing, a reduction block print, which means as you work on it, there's less and less block. It disappears because you keep cutting away. And there was only ever 20 prints made from this one, and it was on a birch plywood. So as you ink it and work on it, it wears the block out.
Gotcha.
Pieces break off, pieces fill in, different things happen. So the early editions are usually the ones preferred. If
Right.
they're so that happens most like at 20, it's not bad. The proofs are all pretty clean, pretty much the
Okay.
same. But as you move on, if you went to 50, there areas would fill in, you wouldn't see it, and chunks fall out, and the block slowly falls apart.
Right.
With the style, with that, if you use a hardwood block,
Mhm.
like they used, in the early years of printmaking, they last for a long, long time because the grain is so tight,
Right.
and things. But these ones, yep, they're all hand inked and pulled, and
Very nice.
yeah, it was just kind of a different experience. So I went through a number of like paintings, drawings, printmaking with this show. So it was kind of a way of me to experiment and learn from doing, right? A lot of
Right.
these things. And so that was some 30 years ago. But
Very cool.
another one, not a huge painting. Most of these paintings are 36 inches in at least in one direction or another. So
Gotcha.
three different things happening here. Initially the drawing,
Right.
and then there was a monoprint at the bottom again, which again is ink on plastic, and you transfer it onto paper. I think there's only one or two of these. As you pull proofs, the ink, there's less and less ink on it,
Okay.
so they get more ghosty looking. The other ones,
Okay.
so there's usually one sharp one,
Right.
and then you have one that's kind of if you go back over this with a brush, it just fills in and gets muddy. You lose that grainy feeling of the
Okay.
pen, of the brush going across there, the brush strokes, they start
Right.
filling in. So this one, basically, I had only ever did one inking of it, and I think it pulled two proofs. One was this one, the more distinctive one, and the other one's a
Right.
little ghostier. And then that transfers over into a painting. You see how everything is flipped the
Yep.
other way? It's transferred around. So basically, I use the sketch to do the painting from, but I
Okay.
use you're developing your color scheme a little bit with the monoprint. You say, what would this color look like? So mostly it's about that fire in the background that they're watching, and trying to get three distinctive characters that
Right.
have come to this venue to look at what's going on.
Very cool.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, you're feeling like when you go to something that large a fire, it's just,
Right.
it's like if there's something burning in a city, it draws people like magnets. They all want to go
Yeah.
look at the fire. They chase ambulances. They want to watch the cops shoot somebody. They want, like, it's insane. People want this action around them,
Right.
and to sit there, my God, to go to a fire that large in a controlled situation
Right.
is it's quite an experience, because it's very warm in your front, like you're burning in the front and you're cold in the back.
Yep. Well, it's almost like going when people go to Burning Man, like the last night when they burn everything. People are
Yeah.
just like whatever, and it's like
Yeah.
a big bonfire that when we were kids we used to do. That wasn't controlled, but we used to. So yeah, so no, there's something. It's this. There's a magic about a fire. It's like a magic about the ocean, right? You just can watch it and you get memorized by the magic of the fire. So
Yeah, Burning Man I've never been, but I know a couple of people that go there regularly, and
right.
they'll travel all the way from Canada to go to Burning Man. They'll drive for 3-4 days just to get
Yep.
down to that desert. And it was brutal this year. I think there was
Yeah,
rain.
they got
They had
there's
rain.
rain and mudding and traffic. It was a whole. I had someone I knew that went there, and he said they went with a camper though, so he said it wasn't so bad for them because they had all the necessities of home. But
Yeah.
the people that like camp out in tents and whatever, he goes, they had a tough time. So
Yeah. No, it's definitely an experience. Yeah,
yeah,
this one's a watercolor, actually.
very
Large
pretty.
watercolor, and it's more just a feeling of not depicting any one person over another one. It's
Right.
more that feeling of community of people watching the burning of the muse of the season, right? That I sense that all these flames that just kind of go up, they have kind of a venting. They've let this start a fresh year, right? You just get rid of this old year, and like I said, they used to burn the Christmas trees. Now they mulch them all, and they're all using
Right.
They use the mulcher all around their plants
Yeah,
now.
because we're gonna save the environment, but we're still
Burn.
gonna drive. We're still gonna have coal power plants, but we can't burn a Christmas tree. Yeah, go figure. So
Well, they're still burning wood everywhere in the world, so it's
there you
like
go.
And
Welcome to Brazil.
yeah, well, that's a whole other story.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, you know what? There's clear cutting going on everywhere in the world. I mean,
Yeah.
they think that just replanting that one tree that they took down 5 or 10,
Right.
and they get this pristine forest. They said, well,
Yeah.
that's the worst thing ever is to have one forest of only spruce trees, because if
Right.
there's a disease goes through there, it'll take out the whole forest
All of
again.
them. Yep.
If you have a mixed forest, you'll still have some trees if
Right.
some of the other ones have a disease within them, right? So yeah,
That requires thought.
they got to
you know.
rethink it. They
Yeah,
got to
that
rethink
requires thought. So we'll see how that works out so far.
Well, I think the Black Forest is pretty much gone. I
Yeah.
know Sherwood Forest in England, it's gone.
Yeah.
They
Well,
picked,
Robin Hood. That's what happened. You got rid of Robin Hood and Maid Marian. They take your forest. So,
they picked every stick off the ground, Stephen.
yeah.
They didn't let anything go back into the regeneration of that forest,
Yeah.
and it dies out if you don't. If you do that, if you pick every stick and burn it or whatever you're going to do with it, throw
Like I
it.
said, it requires thought. And there's something
Anyway,
we don't have.
Yeah, these are fun things to do, and it's been a while since I've done a large watercolor, but it's a nice remembrance to go back and see this again. And you don't need all the detail,
Right.
to tell the story, so it's just kind of be interesting to see if this is how the book.
Yeah, I think the book would be. I think the book called Winter Solstice. I think it would be a history of winter solstice. I think it would do really well.
Yeah. So again, this is another watercolor on the top, but based on the drawings in the foreground.
Right.
So a lot of times when I do a drawing, I'll do writing about that subject, so that
Right.
when I go back, it'll tell me what color sky is, what color, if I write down my colors or some different things that I can't get down that quickly. It's cold out. I mean, you got to remember,
Right.
do that one little thing, turn the page and go on and do another one somewhere else. And you try to cover all the venues and stay warm, and then go back out again. So this is over about 3-hour period over each day. I went out for 2 nights each year for 3 years. So, but on the right, it was really, my idea started more so once I did this pen and ink one. And I remember going to a movie, and it was an old, it was on Scottish folklore,
Okay.
and it might have been Robert the Bruce or something like that, and they were being trounced by the English or something. And there was a foggy day, like it was, and you could hear the pipes in the background, and they're marching up this hill, and you could just see the piper in the background, and the fog was taking over the picture a little bit, and these figures were going in and out of the fog. And then I had that in my mind, that's how this fire image had to kind of look as well. They become the muse, right? It was like,
Right.
you're part of the event, but it's not just stark, because as you get closer to the fire, it's like in photography, light goes around the object,
Right.
right? So if you're close to it like that, it can be a silhouette, sort of like the figure in the foreground pulling the sleigh, because
Right.
it's backlit. But as you get closer to the fire or a really bright light, it absorbs that character, right? You're not,
Right.
and all the edges get fuzzied and soft. The light tries to come around and light the back of you.
Right.
And that's sort of what I wanted, the feeling. I wanted the feeling of these figures going in and out of that fire without being in the fire.
Right.
Yeah, not like
It's very
Sam,
pretty.
not like Sam McGee, who wanted from Tennessee.
No, this is very pretty.
Yeah, it's kind of but I think there's things become challenges as an artist when you're working in a series. And it's somewhat lyrical.
Mhm.
And I think when you paint in series, they are lyrical. One painting's kind of talking to the other one, telling the story, whether whether you're just doing a field painting or whatever, or abstracts or something, they can't all look exactly the same. They have
Right.
to, there's a reason why they're different, right? It could be the way you woke up that morning. I don't know. It's like,
Right.
or your vision of color and what do you want to do, the experience that you're having
Right.
in what you're producing, whether it's sculpture or painting. So I think these are where I'm going with a lot of this stuff. And that's it. It's just
That's
kind
very
of,
nice.
yeah, it was kind of I stuck a few more slides in there.
It's okay. It's your show. You can stick whatever you want to stick in there.
Well,
So we know what we're going to call this episode. So
David limits me lots of times. I just thought, well,
it's good seeing David's not here today.
He's not here.
David's getting drunk with the other people from Amsterdam, trying to figure out what he's going to do.
Yeah.
So, no, that was beautiful. We're going to literally call the show the Winter Solstice. I think. There you go.
There you go. We'll do that.
That's the title for the show, and it's the last show of 2023, Paul. So
amazing.
I know 2024 should be exciting. And some of your guests that'll come on will be, I'm sure, phenomenal, and artists and sculptors and more of your stuff. Are you gonna bring my ravens, the tire ravens, in again? Because those are my favorites. You know that.
Yeah, I don't know whether actually the Ravens are probably going to go into another show in January, and
cool.
Along with my massive jackfish, I'm going to build a 8-foot blackjack. So he goes there. Maybe there'll be something on that. We'll see. Maybe I get a road trip with jackfish. We'll have to.
There you go. That'll be a good short that we'll put out. People would like that.
We'll have to do something. It'll be cold, so I don't know.
It'll be very cool.
Yeah,
well, it was great having you being part of our family for 2023. Yeah. We look forward to seeing you in 2024 and with all the exciting guests that you bring. And in 2024 February, it'll be, I think, a year, right?
It'll be a year.
It'll be a year.
It's been a really fun ride. I've enjoyed talking with so many artists that I normally wouldn't have an opportunity to talk to them for 45, 50 minutes, right? About their work. I mean, it's really about their work. And this is a great opportunity to do that. And, maybe, as you said before, we might get some merch out there here in the new year.
Well, so that's you and David. I stay out of the merch thing. I just wear the merch. That's all I do.
A lot of it is the artists have their own copyright on their materials. Yep. So, you have to deal with David on a specific basis as to what they want. And, but I know with Artists in Canada, we're hoping to get some, some memorabilia of some kind, whether a cup, mug.
When we see David next year, you say, I need cups, mugs, and sweatshirts, and David will make it all happen within 24 hours. And
I might send him some artwork.
Yeah, the painting behind me, as you know, is a whatchamacallit. And that is definitely, people seem to like the sweatshirt, the creation of David or Steve, the creator one. And I just chuckle at it. I wore it the other day out just to be a smart ass. And people are like, oh my God, that's so, where'd you get it? I'm thinking, you really? So I would tell them. And then somebody looked at it for a little bit and they're like, is that you? I'm like, yes. Then I told them the other story. And everyone's just like, oh my God, I have to get one. And I said, seriously? And they're going, it's just so bright and it's like, if you see it and you smile, you can't be unhappy and see it. So I think that's why people want to get it. So.
Yeah.
Well, so we'll definitely do merch.
It's a nice opportunity to have something unique, and you're not just buying it off the shelf at some department store, right? So you're having something that is something that you like. I think that's the other thing. Is something that conversation piece. If you're brave enough to wear it, you wear it.
Listen, I wear this out all the time.
I saw that the other day. And I thought, man, that's a wild jacket.
It's a hoodie. You throw it on, and I'll tell you one thing, because I wasn't sure, but I was out the other day. It was probably 15 or 16 C, so about 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and I wore it. It was warm, and you never know with the merch, right? So I get it so made well, comfortable, and I was like, I like it. So so people seem to like it, and everybody will do your show next year, hopefully, when they go into the merch. Well, every show has its own little merch. You just go to the name of the show and plug it and go, and you can see all the merch from different shows and different artists and different this, and you can buy whatever you want. So it seems to work out really well.
Push will be on to do a book and merch. Holy smokes! I'm gonna be like,
You're gonna have a lot of pressure. David will help you with coffee mugs. Don't worry about that. So, or you get a hoodie that says Canadian art with the flag. I think the flag is free.
I don't know how
There
many
you
people
go.
would wear that. I mean, and it's sort of like, I don't know. It's just kind of one of those things.
You know what? We don't know until we try.
It's not really a flag, but it is colors of the flag, I guess. But has a leaf on it.
Yeah.
But we do
There
like
you
the
go.
identity. But anyway, it's been a good run. I wish everybody a happy New Year, and those that do celebrate Christmas as well. And that you had a good Hanukkah. You did
I had a great Hanukkah.
good
We
thing.
didn't burn anything down, and hopefully
Well,
you
you
got
had 12
had a
days of
wonderful
candles. I
Christmas.
didn't know how you didn't burn something down with all those candles you light. And
I have adult supervision when I touch candles, so it's not. There's other people around with fire extinguishers and buckets of water, making sure that I burn nothing. So it works out well. So,
we as a kid, we lived in Germany. My father and mother were my dad was in the armed forces.
right.
And we lived with a German family for a number of years till we had a year. So we had a residence with them
Right.
in their home. So at Christmas time, they would send you all out of the big room where the big tree was. You had to,
Right.
and they would call you in when it was time. And in Germany, it was the Christ child. When the Christ child comes and gives gifts, and they light the tree, right? And so you come into, they open the big double doors, and you come into the room. And as kids, I just in awe of this tree. All the candles were lit on the tree.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Everybody standing watching the candles in case they light.
Mm-hmm.
But the trees they're not like Colorado spruce tree, right? Where they're all the tight needles. They're kind of more individual branches, and there's a lot of space between them. But each one had a candle on them, and they were lit. Oh, this whole tree.
Yeah.
I still.
And would you sing "Old Tannenbaum"? Old Tannenbaum. Blah, blah,
They would,
blah.
yeah. They
Yeah.
do.
There you go.
It was as a kid, it was magic. I might have been about 5 or 6 years
Wow.
old.
Yeah, back then that would be like wow. Even at this age, it would still be wow to see it.
It's still a wow because candles is like that's insane, right? A real lit candle on a tree.
Yeah, back in the day.
In the day. So at least I got to experience that. And in those days, we each got a bottle of Coke at Christmas time. Oh my God. A whole bottle. We didn't have to share it with our brother, sister, or anything, right?
Nice.
Now it's they guzzle how many 20 ounces at 3 times.
I was just going to say they guzzle a liter bottle of Coke like it's nothing, and it's.
But in the day, it was like you got one.
That was
bottle.
big. I remember when Coca-Cola had cocaine in it.
Man, you're old.
I was around when Coke was invented. I helped them. I think the trade war. No, but I remember as a kid.
You should have had some shares in that.
They have the secret. I remember it had cocaine. I mean, I don't know if I remember. I remember the story of cocaine. They took it out and blah blah blah. I was like, wow. Back in the day, it's sort of like back in the day, like with your art, the winter solstice. Kids didn't wear helmets. We went sledding without helmets and arm pads. You just slammed into a tree. You got up and you walked away. Today, the reason I don't think kids go out is because by the time the parent puts them in their suit of armor, they can't move. And it took 6 hours. There's something to be said about scraping your knees, falling off a monkey bar or a jungle gym, or being on a seesaw where your friend jumped off and you hit your bum. There's something to be said about that. Then to keep you safe, because then when something happens in the real world, you don't know what to do. When we were kids, you got flung around and you nicked and cut, and your parents would be like, you put the Neosporin on or the bacteria spray, and you'd cry for a second, or the iodine, which was the worst. And then you'd go back out and play and come back with more scrapes, and they would do it all over again. And you go out the next day and go, okay, I'm going to go play.
Yeah, no, so we'd go outside, play all day, and mom would yell, comes for supper. Then you go back out again and play. And I remember going all day and, sledding or playing in the park and crab apple fights, and you'd get beat up by the gang in the woods. And
you had a
we still survived. We came home and
everybody lived. And nowadays, when we were kids, if you remember, they used to say on television around 9 or 10 o'clock, it's 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. Do you know where your kids are? And the reason the joke was they said that is because we were probably still out playing and the parents did not know where we were. And it's like, oh shit, I got kids. I got to go do something. Yeah. So today, yes, I know where my kid is because apparently I've tagged him like an elephant. So I can track him every move that he makes. So it's like I said, the good old times is sometimes a lot better than the new old times.
Yeah,
So,
my mom said she knew where I was, but no, she didn't really know where I really
yeah, no,
was.
they didn't care. They knew you were within within the neighborhood, and that could be whether it was a couple square meters or a couple square miles or kilometers. They knew you were somewhere, and somebody's parent was feeding you and making
Yeah,
sure you were okay and got you home. It was a very different and a better
yeah.
time. That's why your paintings all hit home today with the winter solstice, because I was like, I remember all that stuff. It was great, except the big
Uh,
mountains. We had
it,
mountains, but not man-made.
got to get it
So
done. That's
there
the
you
main
go.
thing. Get it published and do
Yeah,
something.
I
But
hope so. Well,
yeah,
my friend, have a happy and healthy new year.
sure.
Your best to the family. Thank you for being part of our family, and we'll look forward to seeing you in 2024. And David
It'll
sends his
be,
regards as well. And we'll see you next year, hopefully with a merch and a book.
there's the goal.
There
I'll
you go.
think about some of that over the holidays a little bit between Christmas and New Year's. I always do. I get a pencil
There
all
you
the
go.
time. So got a lot of other projects on the go. So, but with Artists in Canada, we had a good run with our new online gallery. So it's been
Good, good.
it was a fun and rewarding experience. So, and we'll just keep on going. So we
There you go.
enjoy it, and we will have some unique artists in the new year. You take
Very
care,
cool.
and
Bye,
happy
everybody.
New Year,
Happy,
everybody.
healthy.
And, we will speak again in January.
There you
You
go.
take care.
Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.